Chita, what's it looking like out there?
Hey, good morning. Well, you know, we are dry right now, but it's going to be a day that's exactly like yesterday, where most of the day was dry. And then all of a sudden, about 7, 8 o'clock hit, and maybe a few rumbles of thunder will be possible. Live look at the radar. We are quiet. Happy Friday. Yes, we did make it to the end of the week, and we are going to trend drier. If anything, it's going to be a very warm weekend ahead, but really low rain chances. Live look over the Med Center. What I'm going to be on the lookout for this morning, a little bit of fog. That's also exactly like yesterday. At this point, some low cloud ceilings, but not impacting you at your surface streets. Nice shot over the Med Center, but notice lots of clouds. So again, a little bit of fog may disrupt your morning commute. 5, 6 o'clock, temperatures are coming down. So we're talking mid to upper 80s for your highs. And this would be the best chance of maybe an ice thunderstorm. So we'll keep that 30% chance in. Just can't rule the possibility out.
All right, just a little bit.
For years, and they work on it, and they work on it, and they work on it, and here it is. Well,
How
that's
exciting.
great. Here's the weekend, Chita.
Yes.
And if you like humidity, this is your weekend?
Yes, it's all about this Saturday and Sunday. You're not going to get much of a break. Now, at least on our radar for your Friday, you are getting a little bit of a break from the rain. I know we did get some big claps of thunder last night, you know, especially if you were on the north side from Montgomery County into Walker County. Today, I have a 20% chance of maybe a little spotty sprinkle like yesterday throughout the day. So most of your day for your Friday stays dry. Let me get you into about this afternoon and evening. Again, we try to see some redevelopment of a few thunderstorms like we did yesterday, potentially a little bit earlier. No, this 4:30, but Montgomery County, San Jacinto, Polk County, portions of Liberty County, you know, it's not off the table that you could see a few thunderstorms late afternoon, early evening, very similar to last night. Getting into the weekend though, check it out. When I say dry, we're not talking rain, but it is going to be very humid. As far as the fog goes, Jen, you know, I told you I was going to really scan around. Take a look from Brenham to Columbus to Wharton. So our western counties seeing some fog, not out of the question that could trickle on inland. So I'll watch out for this.
All right, yeah. And
Let's check in with Chita as thousands of people, Chita, head to our area for the North America Ironman Championship.
Yes, you know what? Happening in the Woodlands this Saturday. So, you know, if you are out and about early, they're going to have roadways kind of detoured. You know, this is a really, really big event. So don't be surprised if you see a lot more people in the Woodlands Saturday for the Ironman. At 6 o'clock, temperatures should still be in the low 70s, quickly warming by 10 a.m. to the upper 70s. This is the thing. This Saturday, it's going to be warm and it's going to be humid. Hydrate, hydrate. You know, even if you're just going to cheer somebody on, that heat can really sneak up on you. So keep that in mind that the heat is going to continue to pump in. You know, what's also happening in the Woodlands that's also going to be a big attraction is the LPGA. I know it all is happening at one time. Temperature wise, still into the mid 80s. So another warm, humid afternoon. Make sure you're staying hydrated out there if you plan to go cheer somebody on. Today, I have a 20% chance of a little spotty shower pretty much anywhere, and that is thanks to the humidity. So we don't have anything organized throughout the day. However, take a look at what happens. I'm going to pause our future track around 4:30. Notice a few of these thunderstorms that try to develop. So not everyone will see these downpours late afternoon and evening, but you have about a 30% chance. I would especially say areas north of I-10, very much like last night. Did you hear some claps of thunder? Did you get any rain last night? Of maybe a few downpours. Then as we get into Saturday and Sunday, you're dry. I'm not expecting any rain, but it's going to be really warm and it's going to be really humid. So prepare for the heat and the humidity. Live look at the radar. We are dry right now. Again, about a 20% chance during the day today of that little spotty shower, and sometimes in low level moisture. So this fog, it can bring on a little drizzle, a little mist. So don't be surprised. Visibility is down to a mile in Columbus, 2 in Wharton, a mile there in Brenham, 2 miles in College Station. Take a look, Conroe, you're starting to get sucked in. And sometimes even when some of this fog is on the outskirts, it can actually materialize and kind of trickle inland. So keep in mind some low cloud ceilings. Temperatures overall in the 60s and 70s. Mild start to your Friday morning. Pollen. Temperature wise, notice how this weekend we're trending closer to that 90-degree mark for both Saturday and Sunday. So looking at the big picture on your 7-day forecast today, 87. You enjoy if you catch a few little sprinkles or an isolated thunderstorm this afternoon, briefly going to provide some rain cooled air. You know, it can really drop temperatures between 10 and almost 20 degrees in a short period of time. Of course, the heat builds right back, but briefly you can have some rain cooled air, which is nice. 87 this afternoon, though, I think for most areas that don't see rain. 89 for your Saturday, 90 degrees Sunday. We start next week off where these rain chances fire back in.
All right, we'll have to enjoy.
Sometimes the closed captioning and, you know, they can kind of get in the way sometimes.
Oh, you don't like that? that.
Well, they did this little study where they found that half of all of their viewers would watch it with subtitles no matter what.
Oh, okay.
And so they're like, okay, so they now have the both options, closed caption for hard of hearing, and then if you just like to read it.
So you get to
you
choose.
like to read it?
Yeah.
I don't think that we do that, but maybe I would do it for my kids for educational purposes. You know, I'm like, read your screen. I don't know.
You're not reading
books, just read the screen.
She just like, I'm running around.
Exactly. Yeah, time now is 5.
Really hot and humid out there.
It is, I know, and it's only going to get hotter and maybe a little bit more humid. This morning, live look over the Gulf Freeway. Low cloud ceilings draped across the skyline, not impacting these drivers along the Gulf Freeway just yet. But with the low cloud ceilings, you know, sometimes, especially during the sunrise, that can form as a little bit of a haze, and it can actually make it a little bit more tricky to see. So heads up, I would say this morning between about 6:45 to maybe 7:45, that's when we could start to see a little bit of that fog kind of be reduced right at the surface there. Today you have a 20% chance of a little sprinkle. So I pause our future track at 2. Do you see this little green dot? If you can see that this morning, this is the 20% chance. So maybe out of the clouds today, you ring out a few sprinkles. Otherwise, throughout the day, it's a mostly dry forecast with the exception of an isolated thunderstorm, very much like last night, that could redevelop late this afternoon and evening, just like last night for today. Now, as we get into Saturday and Sunday, it's dry. No worries about the rain for the upcoming weekend. It's going to be all about the heat. Today, the 7th, and then by the afternoon, you're heading back into the mid 80s. So Jen, while I'm saying slim, there's still a little bit of a chance out there for today.
All right, I have.
Cheetah, what's the weather looking like?
You know, morning, sticky icky, and then humidity is actually going to build. So I'm starting off with our humidity map on this Friday morning. Notice how this humidity is just going to kind of continue to thicken up throughout the upcoming weekend. So no big breaks. I mean, the only real breaks that maybe you briefly will have is if you catch that stray shower to an isolated thunderstorm today, and then that is it. So anything that you have planned Saturday or Sunday, it's more about the heat and the humidity. As far as your weather headlines go, an isolated shower to an isolated thunderstorm will still be possible today. Think about a 20, max 30% chance. So not a lot, but I'm still saying there's a chance. Return of the sizzle for the weekend nearing 90 degrees, and then storms do return midweek next week. This is a live look over the Gulf Freeway. Now the downtown skyline is starting to get draped in those clouds. So this morning, even though I'm telling you the fog is not that bad, heads up, it could be actually really dropped at low levels. Not bad. Moderate there with your tree, your grass, and your mold spores. Hopefully a little bit of relief there. Again today, an isolated thunderstorm will still be possible. I think the best chance for that will happen just after 4 o'clock this afternoon. An isolated shower, though, could almost happen at any point during the day, even during your lunchtime hour. So don't be surprised if you catch a few drops, but only a 30% chance. And then take a look, Jen. Yeah, here is that trend, those 90s, you know, like, when are they coming? Well, here you go.
Yeah.
Hey, rain chances today. I got some rain last night, just a little bit.
I did too.
Me too.
I did too. Went to the Rufus de Sol concert in the Woodlands. That's why she's not here today. She texted me. She's like, yeah, those storms that had that 20, 30% chance, they're here. So I know the concert was actually delayed a little bit because of the downpours. And I know, of course, for the Texans draft party, there was a little bit of rain, but I saw so many people out there. It did not totally rain on their parade. It all went on, I guess. But this morning we are dry, so no worries about the Friday morning rainy commute. But we are going to keep a 20% chance at, you know, which is a lot of instability to work with. And that's why even a few thunderstorms late this afternoon and evening, like yesterday, I say, okay, if you do get the rain, consider yourself fairly lucky. But notice 2:30 this afternoon. Now, when you see, let's say in Montgomery County, that little downpour, or maybe in Harris County, notice that little shower there right on the fringe. I can't tell you exactly where that's going to happen. So I'd say everybody keep your guard up. You could see an isolated thunderstorm late this afternoon, getting into the evening hours, but that's really about it. You know, you're not talking a widespread heavy rain event, but again, a few of those downpours will still be possible. So think about a 20% chance during the day, about a 30% chance once you head into our late afternoon, early evening. Now, Saturday and Sunday is completely dry. The humidity will be in place, but as far as any rain, west side, can't rule that out. So be prepared in case that would slow you down. We warm up 80s. You know, are you in town, maybe participating or maybe volunteering or cheering someone on in the Ironman? It happens this Saturday in the Woodlands. Be prepared. Thousands of people come in just for the Ironman, and it is going to be very warm and humid. I've been there cheering someone on before when it was really hot. Make sure you're staying hydrated. You know, if you're just cheering someone on, try to avoid the direct sunlight or wear the hat, sun protection if you can, because it's going to be really. The LPGA is happening at Carlton Woods in the Woodlands. So again, a lot of people heading in. Think Montgomery County, close into the Woodlands. So just be prepared. There could be additional traffic. You know how that goes. And especially with the Ironman, they do have to kind of close some streets. Rain chances are out for the upcoming weekend. Notice we start next week. No rain in the forecast. However, once we get into midweek next week, we get back into this really unsettled weather pattern where every single day we're going to be tracking the chance for a few close to breaking records. Okay, even though we've already hit 90 degrees in March, you know, all in all, this isn't too far from what a typical spring-like pattern in Houston looks like. You know, if you're visiting, it's heat, it's humidity, and it's the transition from winter into summer. So spring kind of splits the difference. If you do catch that little shower or an isolated thunderstorm, you'll briefly get some rain-cooled air. I know that happened last night. Sometimes you can get a good 10, 20 degree temperature drop within some of that rain. And then, Jen, it's all about the sizzle for the upcoming weekend.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of fog this morning. Temperature-wise, you're in the 60s and 70s. It is dry right now. I'll show you when rain chances could return by your late afternoon and early evening. I'll see you at 6 o'clock.
All right.
Weather's like for people preparing for Friday and the weekend.
Right? I know. Happy Friday. We did make it. Hey, this morning you are starting off dry. Temperatures mainly in the 60s and 70s. So I will still say it's mild. It is still muggy. I'm also tracking a little fog this morning. Are you waking up closer into Brenham, maybe Tomball, right along 290? You could run into a little bit of fog this morning. Sugar Land down to 5 miles. Not that bad. Both airports this morning, you're okay. But notice down to a mile in Conroe. Just a heads up over the next hour if we continue to see some of this fog materialize. Will be dry, with the exception of about a 20% chance of a shower during the day, more like a 30% chance for an afternoon, early evening storm. I do have good news as far as the pollen report goes. Jen, I'll have a look at that hour by hour.
I know.
But that's so exciting for them, and I'm so happy for them. Well, if you were at the watch party, or maybe you were just like, you know, watching and following along at home, did you get a little rain? That happened right during the draft, okay? They picked up 3/10 of an inch. Now you may be thinking, okay, that's not that much. You're right, but it happened in a very short period of time. Notice yesterday we also hit a high of 85. So when you get rain and you have temperatures in the mid-80s, that was a very sultry Thursday that we had. Today we'll push repeat temperatures back into the mid-80s. Now radar is quiet. We are dry to start the morning off. However, like yesterday, you can't rule out the possibility of that little isolated shower. Let me show you on our future track. Here's that little bit of chance. Now, it's not only concentrated, though, areas north of the city. I want you to keep in mind you have a 20% chance throughout the day, pretty much area wide. And then I do think the chance for thunderstorms, well, there's a slightly higher chance areas north of I-10. Notice your timestamp, 5:30, 6 o'clock this evening. So throughout the day, a 20% chance. I would say once you get past 4 o'clock, maybe a 30% chance, especially areas north of the city. Now, once you get into Saturday and Sunday, that rain is out. So forget about any type of rain-cooled air. Temperatures are nearing 90, Jen. So the sizzle is on for the upcoming weekend. Over to you.
60s for like 6 months, aren't we?
You're talking for those hot. I know, it sure would be nice. You know, only if you get a really big downpour, you can get almost a 20-degree drop in your temperatures for a few minutes. And then it's like the sizzle returns. But you're right. Yeah, we're probably done with those really comfortable conditions. Temperatures tomorrow, you know, you were talking about the party at Avenida. I'm going to tell you about the Ironman in the Woodlands. Thousands of people pour in for this into the Woodlands. So heads up, you know, if you are in the Woodlands and you're just driving around, you're probably going to notice a lot more cars out. That could be people coming to support the Ironman, maybe participating in it. Temperatures in the morning, not even in the 60s, in the 70s, mid to upper 70s by 10. Think at lunchtime tomorrow, you're already going to be in the 80s. We have a very warm weekend ahead. We also have the LPGA happening at Carlton Woods in the Woodlands. So again, more traffic. There's going to be a lot of people there. Temperatures are expected to be in the mid 80s. It's going to be warm. It's going to be humid. Rain chances completely drop off for the weekend. However, today they're still going to be present. So your weather headlines today, an isolated shower to an isolated thunderstorm. I think the best chance for maybe a little spotty shower during the day, and then the chance for an isolated thunderstorm, just like last night, would happen into your early evening hours. Sizzle for the weekend, and then storms do return about midweek next week. fog. You may see some low-level clouds or a little bit of fog out the door. Visibilities are down to a mile from Columbus to Brenham. Yeah, you're sucked in. College Station down to 0. Conroe at a mile. So heads up Montgomery County. You know, we did have some really big downpours last night. Sometimes where there's lingering moisture and a calm wind, that's where it's pretty easy for some fog to develop. Now, with that being said, we're dry right now on the radar. So your Friday morning commute, we're overall mostly dry. That 20% pops in during the day today. Not overly impressive, but kind of like last night, even an isolated downpour will be possible. Take a look at your timestamp. That's 5:30 this afternoon. If you have dinner plans, if you have evening plans tonight, don't be surprised. Like last night, a little rumble of thunder, maybe some lightning could be attached to an isolated thunderstorm. So a 30% chance. Not everybody, but there is an isolated rain. Temperatures are starting off in the 70s. You're heading to the mid to upper 80s later today. Tomorrow, rain is completely out of here, but notice we're pushing toward 90. That's a humid 90. Some of our feels like temperatures will be more into the low 90s, so be prepared for the heat and the humidity. If you do anything outside, just stay hydrated. That heat can kind of sneak up on you. You know, we've had a little bit of warm rain chances do return midweek, but yeah, Jen, overall the fog is not that bad.
I mean, it's always pretty cool to see, but those signs are rather large. Like, where do you put that?
Where you gonna put that at your house?
I mean, what if you just buy the minute part?
I know.
The
Just
M.
part of it.
Yeah, I know.
It's a part of history. I mean, it's pretty cool that they're auctioning it off now.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yours for $5 million.
I know.
I'm just kidding, not that much.
Yeah, time now is 6:26 and still ahead.
Rain chance today, and then get ready for the weekend sizzle as temperatures return to 90 degrees.
Is that predicted all day today?
You know, that being said, kind of like yesterday, maybe a little sprinkle will be possible, about a 20% chance during the day, and some of that could even happen within some of this fog. You know, the fog is not impacting everyone, but sometimes with this low-level moisture, you can kind of just squeeze out a few drops, so don't be surprised. Notice live shot outside. This is facing toward the skyline. Here's the Gulf Freeway coming in, going out, and we're dealing with those low cloud ceilings. So again, not out of the question, we could squeeze a few drops, but overall it is dry. Okay, so I would say an isolated shower to an isolated afternoon thunderstorm, and that's about it. Sizzle for the weekend. What you doing Saturday and Sunday? Temperatures are going to be nearing 90, and then storms are expected to return midweek. Now today, I'll quickly expect low 80s by noon, and then it's this afternoon, mid 80s. Again, there's that isolated rain chance. Rain chances are completely out for Saturday and Sunday. More on that, guys, coming up in just a little bit.
All right, Cheetah, and
We're just still dealing with an abundance of moisture out there, okay? So even though on our radar it is dry, I'm not expecting any drops for the morning commute. However, I would say by midday today, even through your afternoon, take a look. An isolated shower and maybe even inking out an isolated thunderstorm today. I'll keep a 20% chance during the day, max about a 30% chance as we head into the evening hours. Notice 6 o'clock tonight, very much like last night, where we did see thunderstorms initially develop on the north side, and then they did make it in town. Today, I think you'll see about the same, maybe just a little bit lower. You know, some of those thunderstorms will be a little bit smaller in intensity, but otherwise it's going to be pretty similar. Now, Saturday and Sunday, rain is out. High pressure is actually building in, and that's what's going to take over with heat and humidity. So anything that you have planned for the weekend, you just count on staying high out the same. Record is 90. We should be about 82. So even though it's warm and humid, you know, we're not too far from where we should be. Check this out. Picked up 0.3 of an inch of rain at the big airport. So I know that's not a lot of rain, but that actually fell in a really short period of time last night. Today, temperatures are mainly going to be in the mid to upper 80s, guys. An isolated shower is still possible, but it's more about the sizzle as we head into the weekend. Over to you.
all right.
I think Saturday and Sunday, a lot of people will be heading down to the island, even though this morning it looks kind of dreary, doesn't it? Waves are slightly choppy. Watch out for these wave heights. You know, when we see winds around 10 to 15 miles per hour, that's not that strong, but it's enough to kick up the surf. So elevated surf as we head into the upcoming weekend. It's going to be a warm weekend. We're also dealing with some patchy fog. We have patchy fog pretty much across the board this morning. So live look over the Med Center. This is right across Herman Park. Now, right at the surface streets, okay, the fog is not that bad, but the low cloud ceiling sometimes, especially during your sunrise, can mess with you just a little bit. So hazy conditions, some clouds mixed in with a little bit of fog early, and then most of that will lift. Give it till about 10 o'clock this morning. Visibilities have been reduced down to a mile in Conroe. Notice 3 miles at IAH. So Umbella, Tascasita, heading into maybe spring into the the Woodlands. You could have a little bit of fog this morning. 3 miles in Tomball to 2 miles in Brenham. So along 290, that may be an issue. Gulf Freeway, not as bad there, 7 to 8 miles as you get into Galveston, but the 80s. So even though we have the clouds in place, just think of that as high humidity. Throughout the day today, it's going to be warm. It's another sticky day. Radar is dry right now. Also, like yesterday, about a 20% chance maybe of a spotty shower during the day. Think of this more like a 30% chance once we get into the evening hours. Take a look at all these thunderstorms. Want to stay concentrated areas north of the city, but also, like last night, 1 or 2 of these thunderstorms could be capable of firing off in Harris County. So late this evening, if you have dinner plans tonight, maybe it's your Friday night date, good for you, you could be dealing with a little bit of rain. Now, once we get into Saturday and Sunday, we dry things out, but the heat and humidity persist. So expect a warm weekend ahead, but it should trend drier. Today, a few showers. You will briefly have some nice rain, cooled air. Did you notice that last night? Sometimes you can get a good 10, almost a 20-degree temperature drop in that time period. Saturday to Sunday, forget about it. Rain is out. The sizzle is on. 89 for your Saturday. Temperatures about the same for your Monday, Tuesday. So we start the work week off next, picking back up. As far as today goes, I know this morning it looked like it could rain, maybe a few sprinkles, but I think a better chance actually as we trend a little bit closer into noon. Guys, happy Friday. Back to you. It's going to be warm and humid tomorrow. So no matter what, even if you're cheering someone on, make sure you're staying hydrated. A 30% chance. All about the weekend sizzle. Temperatures near 90 degrees for your Saturday. I'm expecting 90 degrees Sunday, guys. So the heat is on. Over to you.